Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a no-run-through review for the newest Marvel Champions hero, Phoenix. This is, well, this one and one other one. We are finally into the X-Men after a slew of, well, I guess it's all Marvel, but not X-Men characters. We have now breached that to where now we are starting to get that cast of characters, and one of them is Phoenix. And Phoenix is very interesting. Again, Fantasy Flight has found a way to utilize the same core systems that you kind of see in other characters, but make them feel completely different. I don't know if that's just wrapped up into the theme of the character that makes it feel different, or if they're just doing slight tweaks to the mechanisms to where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm familiar with this, but yet it doesn't feel like I'm just playing another type of character. Because Jean Grey, or the Phoenix, utilizes something, it's like a combination of both War Machine and Vision. And you'll see what I mean whenever I start talking about her. So, Jean Grey has a setup where you have the Phoenix Force card in, and it comes in the Restrained side. And this is a permanent, gives you the Restrained trait, which ties into some other cards. And then the Force Response, after the last power counter is removed from here, you flip it. And as a response, after you do a basic recovery, then you put a counter on here. So she has to balance herself out with power counters, and because whenever you flip this Phoenix Force, it goes to its other side, which is her Unleashed form, and that gives her a -2 thwart and a +2 attack. So let's go ahead and look at the Phoenix side. So the Phoenix side is 3 thwart, 1 attack, and 2 defense. And that's pretty good for thwart. Like, so if you need her to be thwart heavy, then you basically need her to be on her Restrained side, which is actually pretty interesting, because if she is in her Unleashed side, well, as you can imagine, she doesn't thwart as much, but she does do pretty good basic damage, because like I said, -2 thwart and +2 attack. So basically it just gets swapped. And if there are ever 4 counters on here, then it goes to its other side. And you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I get counters on and off? Well, that's basically what her deck does. So her main ability is called Psionic Bond. As a response or as a resource, you can remove 1 power counter from here to generate a wild resource, but you can only do that once per phase. So, like I said, with the combination of War Machine and Vision is the different forms. Like Vision has his like dense and his I don't remember what the other one, but his hardened and his ethereal form. She has her Unleashed and Restrained side. And then like War Machine, how he has to manage ammo counters, she has to manage her power counters. And that, like I said, corresponds to a lot of her cards. And her cards are actually very, very interesting, because she can hit hard when she really wants to, but she does a lot of kind of manipulation of minions. So, like I said, so one of her cards is a pretty high cost attack called Telekinetic Attack, and that one just deals straight up 7 damage. But if you are in your Unleashed form, then it deals an additional 2 damage, and it gains Overkill. So a 9 damage attack, which is extremely solid, pretty much wiping out, as far as I can remember, any minion that is going to be in your way. And because it gains Overkill, that bleeds over into someone else. So what you want to do is, so because you start out with 4 counters on this, you want to kind of spend those to become Unleashed if you want to start using the Telekinetic Attack, which is very interesting. And then even then, so Telekinetic Attack is a big one-shot, but then she has Psionic Blast, or Psychic Blast, which deals 4 damage to the villain, and if you have the Unleashed trait, deals 4 damage to each minion engaged with you. And that could be huge if you're going up against some villains that are kind of more minion-heavy. If they're just in your way, then you just Psionic Blast and just do an all-out 4 damage attack, which is huge. Like, that's really, really good, because 4 damage is not nothing. But those are kind of, what's interesting is those are really her only main ways of actually of dealing damage, is really those 2. I mean, granted, her base attack becomes a 3, which is also pretty good. If it doesn't outright kill a minion, it's going to do enough damage that any piddly one-shot can just get rid of it. So I'd say she's very versatile because she can do a lot of damage to minions, but she can hit really hard against the villain if she needs to, but very, very rarely. I'm trying to remember, I think she has one... so she has 2 telekinetic attacks in her deck, and then she has 2 of the psychic blast in her entire deck. So unlike some where they have 3 heavy hitters, she does not. But I think she more than makes up for it with the regular attack. So I'm going to go over some of her other cards, but let's go over the ones that do damage, or that allow her to do damage. One of the events that she has is called Phoenix Firebird. This one is an event, and it's just a hero action. You can choose to remove a power counter from the Phoenix Force card to be able to ready her. So, I mean, if you attack with her for 3, you can play this, remove an additional one to then ready her to attack again for 3. Or you can place 2 power counters on the Phoenix Force. Because, like I said, her ability becomes useless if you burn through her Phoenix Force, but you can't flip to her other side unless you get 4 counters on here. So you have to kind of balance out how you want to use her counters, and I find that very interesting. She is kind of relatively difficult because if you want to go all in on one, you're definitely going to be weak in some areas, and I actually find that because I've played her solo, I find that very difficult to kind of manage, because it's like if you want to do stuff, if you want to use her ability, but you just spent her last power, but you don't have anything in your hand that gives you power, or gives you ways to put power counters on here, then you're kind of without an ability. So that's where this card comes in. If you want to just use her multiple times for either maybe a quick 1 thwart for whatever reason, or if you want to get her to her other side so you can't start thwarting, then that's how you get more counters on. So that's what Phoenix Firebird does. She does have ways to remove threat, and not a whole lot, but she does have ways to do it. One of these is Telepathic Trickery, and this card right here it just removes 4 threat from a scheme. If you have the Unleash trait, once again in your Phoenix Force, you can stun and confuse an enemy. That's pretty awesome, unless they have Stalwart, then that just kind of sucks, but otherwise, this is just a really good, I mean, if you have a power counter, I mean, just being able to generate a wild resource is always a good thing, I think, and so making these cheaper to use some of her other cards. She comes with the Justice deck, which is fine. I didn't really find it like super great, but her cards, her actual cards are pretty solid. There is one cool combo that I'm gonna show you that does come from the Justice aspect in a sec. So yeah, these are basically her main ways of generating, either doing a lot of damage or kind of removing a lot of thwart. Her other card, that is her alter ego, that's kind of similar to Phoenix Firebird, except this is an event, this is a support, is an alter ego. Because whenever you're an alter ego and you do a recovery, you place a power counter on top of the Phoenix Force card. With White Hot Room, you can exhaust this to do that again. You can place another power counter on the Phoenix Force, or you can heal 2 damage from Jean Grey. So these 2 cards plus her recovery allows you a decent amount of power counter manipulation, but you do have to keep in mind of like, okay, I really want to start thwarting, so I need to kind of, that becomes your focus of what like you're going to start doing. So I can imagine her being, 4 is a lot. I kind of find 4 a lot, and there's not a whole lot of ways for you to just bump up to that 4, you know, relatively quickly. You can only recover once, so at any given time, I mean, I guess it would take 2 full turns if you just recovered and did White Hot Room, but you're not really doing anything else just to get that 4 if you wanted to come out of Phoenix Force Unleashed and go to Restrained. So I found 4 to be kind of a bit much, but I mean, ultimately it's still really good. Like, her natural thwart is high, and her, when she's in Unleashed form, becomes pretty good with attack. She does have one card in here called Phoenix Suit that utilizes those keywords, unleashed or restrained, and she gains the aerial trait. When you have the restrained trait, you gain steady, and when you have the unleashed trait, you gain retaliate 1. It's just kind of there. If you have nothing else to play and you just want something to as an upgrade, it's there. It's pretty good. So that is that. Now there is another combination that I was talking about that is pretty cool. So you have this event called Psychic Manipulation in the deck, and that one says it's an interrupt. So whenever the villain schemes, it removes that amount of scheme instead of adding them. And this one I found to be kind of fascinating because a villain only schemes against the main threat, or the main threat. So, and this is an event, so you get to play it after seeing how much it's going to scheme for. But what's really cool is another card in here called Swift Retribution causes the villain to scheme, and then it deals 4 damage to the villain. So I think this is a really cool 1-2 combo. If you get both of them in your hand, then you can force the villain to scheme instead of you having to scheme yourself. So if you're in your unleashed form and you want to use your Phoenix Firebird and her with her +2 attack, so you can do 6 damage, you could attack and then use Phoenix Firebird, remove a power counter, and then ready her to attack again, and then use this combo to allow you to, okay, you know what, I'm going to have the villain scheme real quick. Oh, it drew a boost of 3 on its scheme of 4. Oh, that's 7? Yeah, now I'm going to do Psychic Manipulation, and it's actually going to remove 7. And then it's going to deal 4 damage. So in just that one combo, you're dealing 10 damage and removing 7 thwart. I thought this was a very, very cool combo. And what I also found was it would have to remove or ignore the crisis icon. You know, on the side schemes where it's like, hey, you have to remove threat from here before the main. It's like, oh, no problem. I'm not going to remove threat. I'm going to have the villain do it. I think that that's really cool. Because normally, you can only play this if your identity has a psionic trait, which both sides of her do. So I was thinking, oh, okay, you can only do that when in Alter Ego. Nope, because Swift Retribution causes the villain to scheme. I think that's a really cool combo, and you can, you know, double it up with both damage and threat. So her other cards that I want to show are kind of utility cards, and these are pretty interesting because I don't see a lot of cards like this. One of them is called Mental Paralysis. You can only put this, you have to be in hero form, and it can only go on a non-elite minion, which kind of sucks a little bit because it's like, it's the elite minions that you want to actually stop. But otherwise, this is, it just, attached minion can't activate. I mean, it's a cheap, relatively cheap card, so it's just if your one's, every time it activates is becoming a problem, or if you really just don't want, you can survive one hit, but maybe not a hit from a minion as well. You can mental paralysis it, and it doesn't do anything. This card does go away when you go back into your alter ego mode, but it's a quick, you know what, I don't want this to do anything right now. But the other card that I found even more fascinating was Mind Control. Now this one is pretty expensive. She does have her regular Genius, Energy, and Strength cards, so that plus her ability of generating a wild and then you just use another card allows you to take control of another minion. Again, non-elite, so that kind of sucks, but treat it as a controlled ally with a blank text box. Its thwart is equal to its printed scheme, and it takes 1 consequential damage after it thwarts or attacks. That's just very handy. Like, if you have a bunch of minions on you, but one deals, you know, some regular minions deal 3 attack. And it's like, you know what, I think I'm going to take control over that. And then you just go ahead and use it. It's, hey, now this is an ally for as long as this card is attached to it, which, I mean, that's a free ally. And it's also, you're taking an ally away from away from the villain. So I found these 2 cards very interesting just because I don't see a lot of minion control in the sense of using them or stopping them from doing something or, you know, taking control of them. It's usually just, oh, you know, Psionic Blast, deal 4 damage to every minion, stuff like that, just killing them instead. Her other 2 cards that I'm going to show you have to do, this is more of her defense. I haven't really talked about her defense at all, and that's because she doesn't really have any. She does have, I mean, she does have ways to heal herself quite significantly. The where was it? Oh, it's just a basic neutral card called Downtime. Downtime is it goes under your control, and your alter ego gets +2 recovery. That turns her into a 5. And with her White Hot Room, you could heal 7 on a recovery if you wanted to, which her max health is 9, so that's basically putting her up to full health. But if you don't want to go into alter ego mode and do all that, she does have a card called Telekinetic Shield. When attached, you attach to a friendly character, and when attached, character would take damage from an enemy attack, place that damage here instead, and if there are ever 5 damage there, discard Telekinetic Shield. It's not the best form of like defense. There's some cards that are just pure negate all damage. It's there. I mean, it could theoretically, protect you from 5 damage if you're only taking 1 each, or just 1 major one. But it's just kind of there as a defense. But the one that I found even more interesting is this upgrade, and that's an upgrade as well, but it's called Rise from the Ashes. When you would be defeated, remove this card from the game, ready your identity, and restore it to its printed hit point value instead. Remove each power counter from Phoenix Force. So basically, you just kind of reset, except you don't start with the 4 Phoenix. So getting that card out early and being able to hopefully protect it and it doesn't randomly get discarded, yeah, I mean, that allows you to just stay in the game. You can be a little bit more willy-nilly with your health, but if you are, preserve it, and then that's just a really clutch card. But yeah, other than that, I think Phoenix is a extremely solid character. Like, I'm not too I'm not jazzed by her. Like, I think she's pretty good. I wish she had more ways to generate her power counters, like you had a little bit more control over it to where you can kind of swap back and forth. But I see why they didn't do that, because then it would probably just be another kind of vision where if you could freely just change which form you wanted to do. I think having to balance out the power counters make her a strategic character, because if you're playing with multiple people and it's like, oh, the other person can't thwart that good, but they can attack, then you have the ability to at least try and at least get to a thwart state. And she hits hard. Like, she does a little bit of everything. Not everything super well, but she does everything pretty good. So this is one that I'm actually having a hard time, because she also has no card draw. That's the other thing about her that kind of sucks. Now, each time I've played her, I've never really had to want for drawing cards. She always pretty much just generated a pretty solid hand. But like last time I played her, I went up against Thanos, because I'm like, oh sure, yeah, Phoenix up against Thanos, and it did get to his second stage, which halved my deck. So there was a point where I was really starting to hurt to just outright do damage, because her Telekinetic Attack was gone and used. Especially because half your deck gets removed from the game. So I think, let's see, how can I... Okay, so Phoenix Force is out, because I always like to see how much damage I can do. Let's see. I mean, it's gonna have to be her hand size goes to 5, but if you swap to her, then you could go to 6, so you would have 6 cards in your hand. So let's see, we're definitely gonna need Phoenix Suit. I don't think she does. She's just gonna be able to do a whole lot of damage. If you could pop off 2 telekinetic attacks, but you can't, because it costs 3 and you can only make it go down to a 2. Not Phoenix Suit. What did I mean? I meant Phoenix Firebird. So maybe that's the route you go. Maybe you go multiple Phoenix Firebirds, because she does have a few in the deck. Does she have 2 or 3? She has 2. So if you 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point, so 4, 5, 6, sure. Yeah, I can't really think of, like, any way... Oh, no, because you're going to have to be able to play them. Yeah, because once again, she has no way to draw multiple cards or really make things cheap. Oh, wait, there we can do... No, because they all cost 1 anyway. So, if we just did Genius instead... Yeah, so if we did Phoenix Force, and let's just say it had 2 on it, yeah, well, so we could attack with her, that would be 3 damage. We could then get rid of that, to then play Phoenix Firebird, remove that to ready her to attack again, so that's 6 damage. Yeah, I just 6. Yeah, get rid of these 2 to then play. Get rid of Genius and another one to then play Telekinetic Attack. So that would be an additional 9. So that would be, 15 damage. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. If she even had one way, and so I think she'd be pretty gross if you changed her Justice to then do, to then give her some card draw, because yeah, she really does not have any. And then if you had one more card, you could then play that to do another Phoenix Firebird. So that would allow you to get rid of another one, ready her, and but even then, that's just 18 damage, which is surprisingly significantly weaker than, like, a lot of other characters that, best case scenario, of course. So, I know there are events you can side schemes you can just, defeat that lets you draw. There are other if you're playing with an ally, then they can give you a way to draw. But even then, yeah, best case is if you can pop off 2 telekinetic attacks to do 18 damage. Being able to play both of those is on top of that to do 21, but that's a lot. That's you could do that. You could have your Genius. If you had 2 telekinetic attacks, would then, where's the other one? And then if you had your Genius, and then if you had your Strength or Energy, so that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you could actually, you could do that. So, I'm trying to find the other Telekinetic Attack. Where'd you go? Well, either way, it would be, you would have your Genius and whatever, another card to play Telekinetic Attack. That would be 9 damage. And then you would do Energy and then another card to play your other one. That would be your 6. So that would be 18 with Overkill. And then you attack with her at +3. So that would be 21. Yeah, again, 21 damage almost solos any level 2 villain. I don't know. I'm not too jazzed. I like the characters that allow you to draw and just have kind of cool combos going on. I don't think she's bad. Again, I think with Phoenix, she's like a combination, at least the gimmicks of her is a combination of 2 characters off the top of my head. And like I said, she's not really particularly good at one thing. She's just pretty good at multiple things, which is probably what you want, honestly. I think she does feel like the Phoenix. Again, I've never played a character in Marvel Champions that didn't feel like the character that they sold. Like, even though I'm sitting here like, oh, this card is kind of like Vision and her power counters are kind of like ammo, I wasn't ever sitting here thinking, I'm playing War Machine or I'm playing Vision. Let's see. I think Phoenix, I've only ever played, I should also say, I've only played her solo. So I think that she would be significantly better with other players. Like, I think she'd be a very solid support. And with that in mind, I think I'm going to give Phoenix a 7. 7 out of 10. Solo, I was kind of thinking 6, but I've played enough Marvel Champions to be able to be like, ah, yeah, this is a character that would be super good with, with like Spectrum or Vision or, literally anyone. She'd be really good with anyone else. Spectrum would be very interesting because they're both really big on kind of like their forms. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Phoenix. Let me know what you think of her in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.